Microsoft and Sony are on the cusp of yet another new generation of consoles, and while Sony has been reluctant at best to reveal much of anything about the impending PlayStation 5, Microsoft, and especially Phil Spencer, have doled out plenty of information about their latest iteration of the Xbox family of consoles. Dubbed the Xbox Series X, the system will boast features like 12 teraflops of GPU power, full backwards compatibility functionality carried over from the Xbox One, ray tracing, near instant load times, 8K support, and a whole lot more. The console is said to be about twice as powerful as the Xbox One X, which was already an impressive statement in its own right. What makes this whole adventure more palatable and intriguing is that Microsoft's recent endeavors into cloud gaming and online-focused entertainment. Xbox Live has become one of the largest ecosystems for online entertainment. Xbox Game Pass offers subscribers plenty of both first and third-party games for a monthly fee. And with Microsoft's recent studio acquisitions like Ninja Theory and Obsidian Entertainment, they seem to be taking their first-party development a lot more seriously than they did with the Xbox One. But here's the thing, the Series X sounds impressive, the stats look nice, but even without knowing all of the details of their upcoming system, I'm more inclined to make a day one purchase of the PlayStation 5 than I am the Series X. But why? Well, there's a few reasons, to be honest. So I figured I'd break them down for y'all a bit, giving me something to talk about and something for you all to be mad at me for. This is going to be a video about me complaining about Xbox for a bit, but I will try to do my part and be the fair and honest YouTuber guy, and talk about some good things with each talking point. I like to be fair, which is why I'm okay saying that the Wii U is a bad console while still finding enjoyment out of its existence, so I figured the least I can do is do the same for Xbox. So let's waste no more time and dive right in. The Xbox Game Pass is currently available on both Xbox One and PC, with multiple subscription options starting at about $9.99 a month. The most lucrative option for Game Pass is Game Pass Ultimate, which gives users access to both the Xbox and PC library of games, as well as access to Xbox Live Gold for online play on Xbox One, all for the low price of $14.99 per month. All in all, I would say it's a really fantastic offer. Even PlayStation Now doesn't offer this robust a library and feasible of options, and I'm saying this is one of the biggest Sony fanboys out there. For one, PlayStation Now is a strictly streaming-based service, whereas Game Pass lets you actually download titles. I tried playing offline games like Batman Arkham City with PlayStation Now, and I could barely get through the tutorial portion of that game before lag made it impossible to partake in any fight, let alone play more of the game. Every experience I've had with Game Pass, mostly on PC because I don't really have an Xbox One anymore, I've experienced no such problems since I was allowed to download my titles. But here's the thing, why should I get an Xbox Series X when I can get the most out of this fantastic service without it? Sure, I would potentially miss out on a few games down the line after they stop supporting the Xbox One or whatever, but all I really need to play a lot of these games is a good enough PC thanks to the Play Anywhere initiative Microsoft has. A good enough PC and maybe an Xbox controller and I'm good to go. Game Pass is a wonderful feature of the Xbox lineup. Almost every game is available on both PC or Xbox, with major first-party titles like Halo or Forza being available day one, and while the total library of games is only about 100 or 200 or so, it's still an expansive and diverse selection of games. I just don't see the point in getting a potentially $500 box that could be utilized for Game Pass when I could just go to a store like GameStop and get a used Xbox One for about $100 and have ultimately the same experience with maybe a little less visual fidelity. Speaking of that though, I'm very much a person who doesn't care if a game has strikingly realistic graphics in order to enjoy it. Hell, my 3 favorite games are Psychonauts, Team Fortress 2, and Sunset Overdrive, all of which feature highly stylized worlds, character designs, and pastel cel-shaded art styles. But one thing that this console generation has done in particular is put an emphasis on making more realistic graphics, leading to absolutely stunningly realistic visual works like God of War, the Forza series, The Witcher, and more. The power that the Xbox Series X will offer is twice that of the Xbox One X. and that system already boasts enough power for me to zoom in on Marcus Phoenix's face and count each individual hair on his chinny chin chin. Because of this, environments in games have the capacity to be more lush, more realized, and more distinct than they've ever been before, creating beautiful vistas and screenshot-worthy moments in almost any game. That said, visual fidelity, 8K resolution, ray tracing, and any other fancy way of saying graphics am good doesn't really mean that a game will itself be good. Rise Son of Rome was a fantastic looking early launch for the Xbox One, but the repetitive gameplay and lackluster story made for an experience that was more of a slog to get through rather than an enjoyable experience. To stay fair, Sony hasn't exactly been perfect in their offerings either, with the early flop that was The Order 1886. But I personally found that game enjoyable when I picked it up, and a lot of the hate that game got was Sony over-marketing and overpricing a game that could have been beaten to 100% completion in about 8 to 10 hours, so it's a little bit of a difference here. Meanwhile, Microsoft owns the rights to Minecraft, one of the least graphically intense games on the market, and I've found myself playing that game for hundreds of hours across almost every platform. Its gameplay is structured in such a way that you can just have nearly limitless potential for play, and the graphics don't really detract from that idea. If anything, they just enhance it. I know that a lot of power in the machine will be dedicated to back-end stuff, like eliminating load times for games or allowing players to have multiple games going at once so they can switch between freely. But a lot of the industry seems to think that good graphics equals good games, and a lot of the marketing for the Series X thus far has been focused on that narrative. Honestly, if Microsoft were to say this new console had a similar level of graphical fidelity to the Xbox One X, I'd be fine with that. But similar numbers don't really sound as snappy as bigger numbers, now do they? When the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 were on the market, I personally ended up getting a PlayStation 3 while the rest of my friends got 360s. It was a little lonely playing online games by myself, and I often found myself enjoying multiplayer games when I was hanging out with my friends. So I eventually got a 360 as well. But when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were coming out, and games began to focus less on local multiplayer in favor of online experiences, I chose the PlayStation 4 for its more robust offering of single-player content and more franchises that I was interested in. Also, Microsoft basically butchered their Xbox One reveal and fumbled their way through the first years of the console's lifespan, but that's all just coincidental, I'm sure. So for the last 7 years or so, I've played most of my games on a PlayStation 4. I got an Xbox One to play games like Dead Rising 3, Sunset Overdrive, Cuphead, and more shortly after the console's launch, but ultimately I barely touched my Xbox One when I had it. And now, with most of these games on other platforms, I don't really have much of a reason to get an Xbox One again. Meanwhile, I have a large, robust library of PlayStation games, a good majority of which are console exclusive that you can't really get on any Xbox offerings. So for me, unless the PlayStation 5 for some reason offers absolutely no backwards compatibility with PlayStation 4, it makes more sense for me to go with that route, doesn't it? I'll already have a larger library of games on a more robust console than what I already have, and I have a personal preference for Sony games and franchises. Now, that's not to say Xbox can't offer me nothing to attract me to the Series X over the PlayStation 5. This is of course assuming that I'm only getting one of these consoles, which, let's be fair, is likely because I'm poor and these things are expensive. But if the console is cheaper or offers some important feature that the PlayStation 5 doesn't, or some big flashy game that is only exclusive somehow to the console, rather than being part of the Play Anywhere initiative, I'd likely go with the Series X. But that leads me to my final point. At this point, me talking about Xbox Series X versus the PlayStation 5 is basically a moot point, isn't it? Aside from them both likely being black boxes that take discs and let you play games that those two major console distributors allowed to be on them, their ultimate mission statement is likely trying to get a hold of two different markets. Sony is gearing up for their console to be more of a traditional console, offering things like disc or download for your game so that you can, just play it right then and there, instead of having to use a cloud service or download streaming, all of that. And through all of this, they're offering a wide variety of genres and franchises for players to choose from. At least that's what I think they're going to be doing. Like I said, they haven't really said anything about the PlayStation 5 out of showing us a logo so far, so yippee for that. But Microsoft isn't gearing up for another fight with Sony or really even Nintendo or either of them. Phil Spencer and the other Xbox execs have already said that they see Amazon and Google as their main competition going forward, because all three companies are focused on what, for some reason, everyone thinks is the true future of gaming: the cloud. The Xbox Series X is going to have a disc tray, obviously, but Microsoft has sunk tens of billions of dollars into cloud gaming through their Azure service, and they see that as the logical next step in gaming. So why would I, a person who prefers physical media over streaming my games, care about a console being designed for that type of structure? If I've learned anything from the failure that is Google Stadia, it's that unless you work for Google and have access to a $2,000 plus computer rig, you're not really going to have as precise an experience in a game, even playing an offline single-player game, as you will when it's a direct download or being read from a disc. Just look at all of the system lag on Stadia for that. Plus, again, Microsoft is gearing the Series X to not only be a place for their new games, but also one of the primary spots for Game Pass, a cloud streaming service. That's also available on PC, with the majority of the games being available on both. Look, I have fond memories of playing Xbox games and systems over the years. My friends and I played through Castle Crashers the night the game came out. Sunset Overdrive is one of my favorite franchises of the modern era, and I still consider Halo to be one of the best shooters available on the market. But speaking as a consumer who could care less about subscription service-based distribution, who doesn't mind if a game looks like trash if it plays fantastically, who has a longer history and respect for Sony systems and properties, and who prefers physical media to downloads or, more importantly, cloud gaming, why would I be interested in the Series X? I'm just not part of the target market for the Xbox Series X, but some of the decisions that Microsoft has made has me wondering exactly who their target market is. With Game Pass, I don't need to get this system and instead just have a good enough PC to play just about everything they'd offer me otherwise. With the PlayStation 5, a system that will most likely be a souped-up version of the PlayStation 4, I can get most of the bigger releases on a machine designed to be a home console, and has a wider variety of game franchises that I personally enjoy. And, most importantly, I don't care about cloud gaming, for its inability to truly achieve mass market appeal until technology becomes more readily available for such an endeavor to truly work. The Series X, from what I can tell, is primarily for Xbox fanboys or people who don't want to have to pay too much for a high-end PC. It looks like an impressive piece of hardware, even if it does look like a fridge, but I have yet to be given a concrete reason as to why I would want this machine. And keep in mind, this is all while Sony has not revealed much of anything for their upcoming PlayStation 5. But who knows? We're still at least half a year from this thing releasing after all. Maybe Microsoft can win me over in that time. If they were to say, announce the return of Fable Legends, or Cuphead 2, or, maybe a redo of the original Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know. Guess we'll just have to wait and see.